how are you?
Fine, thank you, Matt. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Hey, thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Hey, when my best friend Leah says, do an interview, I cannot say no. It is wonderful. I'm happy to be able to do that. And I have great beliefs and a great appreciation for what the Brown School is doing. I come from a school teaching background, so does my wife, so it's a pleasure to be a part of a classroom, Matt.
No, actually, your whole family comes from a school background, right?
That is correct. My mother was one of the first graduates from our community, and she was a teacher of mathematics, which is an unheard of situation when she was growing up. And my father was a headmaster, and my sister is a professor, and we all come from an educational family.
Well, let's take a step back and talk about where you come from.
Okay, I come from Tamil Nadu, where we apparently torture cats. No, our cat wants to get into the interview, and we will see what is happening. I come from Chennai in Tamil Nadu. My ancestral home is Tirunelveli, which is deeper south in Tamil Nadu.
It's about a 12-hour train ride from...
Yes, it's an overnight train ride. Hey, by the way, if you want to find more about where I come from, you should read books by Anu Subramaniam. I recently finished one of her books. She's a prolific and wonderful writer, and makes it feel like I'm back in my homeland and my hometown. A latest book, Another Heaven, I just finished reading it. But and it's a wonderful book.
And this isn't even a shameless plug because you've never met her.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like we have been friends or cohorts coming from the same place and the same philosophy of life and the same perception of the world.
So, your grandfather, tell us a little bit about him.
My grandfather's name was C. Devanayagam, Chettikulam Devanayagam. He lived in a place called Kolasegarapatnam in Tirunelveli district, and he spent most of his time in Chennai when it was called Madras. He was a political agitator, and he did a lot of interesting things and amusing things.
Like what?
Like he belonged to a political party called the Justice Party. By the way, he died in 1945 when I was 7 years old. So it is ancient time, and long before many of the students in Leah's class were born. Maybe even long before many of the parents of the students in Leah's class.
Many of their grandparents.
Yes, were born. So this was sometime during the final days of the British Raj. The British were ruling India, and people were agitating to get the British get out of India. But my grandfather thought the British are wonderful people compared to the other local people who are exploiting each other. So he was in favor of the British remaining forever and ever in India. But that is just a minor part of what he did. He was working very hard to uplift people from what now is called the scheduled caste people, the untouchables, the Harijans. In the Indian caste system, there were some people who were denied all opportunities. So what my grandfather did was to start an orphanage in Kolasegarapatnam and start a school in Madras, in Chennai, with the exclusive focus on giving more opportunities for the depressed people, for the scheduled caste people, for the so-called untouchables. So that's what he did.
Now, he started the school, but there's today two branches, right? There's an orphanage and the school still in Chennai.
There are three branches. He has a boys' high school, which is called C.D. Nayakam Secondary School in Chennai, in a place called T. Nagar, and that is one of the oldest schools in Chennai. And in Kolasegarapatnam, his home village, has got a teacher training school where people who finish high school take 2 years of teacher training and become teachers. So he established a teacher training school exclusively for girls. In India, in those days especially, and even now, women are being exploited. Women are kept down and suppressed. So in order to compensate for that, he was a feminist type of a person long before people even heard of that. So he was supporting all downtrodden, undertrodden type of people.
And your father became a headmaster there?
My father became a headmaster, not in the C.D. Nayakam school, but he was a district educational officer and a headmaster for governmental schools in Tamil Nadu.
And your brother Devamani is?
By the way, my father was also a manager for the school, and so is my brother. They were all a part of the executive board for a group called Kalvi Pani, which means service to education. They are now supervising, coordinating, and managing the orphanage, the girls' teacher training school, and the school in Madras for boys, high school in Madras for boys.
And do you have any, I'm hitting you off the cuff here, but do you have any idea how many children have gone through the school over the last 70 years?
By the way, I taught in that school among other things, and that is where I started my career. And when I was teaching, there were approximately 800 students for 1 year. And considering the school has been around since 1945, so you do the math. It should have been thousands and tens of thousands of students who graduated from the school, mostly the suppressed minority members of Harijan class and things of that nature.
On your, there's a statue of your grandfather in the courtyard of the school, and it says 1939. What is the date reference?
I think it is the date in which the school was originally established. It was created. By the way, that was 1 year after I was born. That is the date in which Kalvi Pani and the original school was established.
Great. I'm trying to think if there are any other questions the kids might ask. Is there anything you can think of to share?
I think it's a good school, and the children come from 6th grade. It is combination of middle school and secondary school, high school, and they leave the school when they are 16 years old. They come to the school around 10 years of age, and when they are 16 years old, they graduate from the school.
Excellent. Thank you, Thiagi.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Brown School, and thank you, Leah, and pleasure to be a part of your class today. Thank you.
Thiagi.